Imagine being reduced to a single word, not a philosophy, not a story, not even a personality trait. Just one word, repeated endlessly like a broken record at a party nobody wanted to attend. That's your entire identity. Congratulations, you're Squanchy. On paper, you're supposed to be Rick's wild alien friend, a comic relief sidekick who loves to party. But peel back the neon lights and gallons of cheap intergalactic booze, and what you really are is a tragedy disguised as a punchline. You're not living, you're squanching, and no one even knows what that means, including you. Every appearance you make is a reminder that your existence is disposable. You're the filler joke, the messy drunk in the corner, the guy who gets invited only because someone has to bring the chaos. So, why does it suck to be squanchy? Let's squanch into it. So, who exactly is Squanchy? On the surface, he's just a furry alien cat with a drinking problem and a questionable vocabulary. He pops up in a few episodes, usually with a beer in one hand, a wild grin on his face, and a complete disregard for dignity. He's loud, messy, and a walking PSA for why you shouldn't mix intergalactic liquor with whatever the hell squanching is. But here's the thing. Squanchy isn't really a character. He's an accessory. Rick doesn't hang out with him because he's a best friend. Rick hangs out with him because he's convenient. He's a chaos machine, a distraction, a living party favor you can toss into any scene to spice it up. Think about it. Every time Squanchy appears, does he grow? Learn something? Change the story? No. He's the guy in the background making cat noises while Rick and Morty do the actual plot. He's basically a recurring Easter egg with a hangover. And that's the tragedy. Squanchy isn't someone you care about, he's someone you tolerate until he inevitably self-destructs. But it gets worse. Because being defined by one word isn't just lazy writing, it's a nightmare existence. Let's talk about Squanchy's greatest curse, his vocabulary, or rather, his complete lack of one. His entire existence is reduced to a single word, squanch. Think about how depressing that is. You don't have dreams, opinions, or complex thoughts. You don't even get to order food at a restaurant. You just look at the menu, stare the waiter dead in the eyes, and say, squanch. That's not personality. That's malfunction. It's like if your whole identity was built around saying yeet for the rest of your life. At first, people laugh. Then they get uncomfortable. Eventually, they just pity you. And deep down, you pity yourself. Even worse, no one knows what squanch actually means. It's supposed to mean everything. Hello, goodbye, love, hate, even bathroom activities. Which means it really means nothing. Imagine being a walking inside joke that nobody gets. That's your entire existence. So when Rick calls you Squanchy, he's not saying your name. He's saying your whole life is just a meme. You're not a person. You're a punchline with fur. And unfortunately for you, your best friend is Rick Sanchez, the human embodiment of I don't care. Now, let's address the radioactive elephant in the room, Squanchy's friendship with Rick. On paper, being Rick's buddy sounds exciting. Adventures across the multiverse, endless parties, scientific miracles. In reality, it's emotional. Bankruptcy with extra steps. Rick doesn't see Squanchy as a friend. He sees him as background noise, a drinking partner, a chaos sponge, someone to fill the silence until Morty starts panicking again. Think about it. Rick calls Squanchy only when it's convenient. Party? Sure, Squanchy's invited. Need someone disposable in a gunfight? Squanchy's your guy. Emotional support? Forget it. Rick's too busy monologuing about nihilism while Squanchy quietly spirals into another blackout. The tragedy is that Squanchy genuinely loves Rick. He looks at him the way a dog looks at its owner, unconditional, loyal, desperate for approval. And Rick? He tosses him scraps of attention, then moves on. It's not friendship, it's exploitation, dressed up as camaraderie. So, what does that mean for Squanchy? It means his only real relationship is a toxic loop where he gives everything and receives nothing. He's not Rick's best friend. He's Rick's emotional ashtray. And if your best relationship feels like being used, imagine what your day-to-day life must look like. Spoiler, it's miserable. So, what does a day in the life of Squanchy actually look like? Spoiler, it's a nightmare wrapped in neon fur. Mornings aren't for coffee or contemplation. They're for waking up with a pounding headache and the faint realization that you're still alive. Nights aren't for relaxation. They're for drinking, partying, and squanching until the universe starts making less sense than usual. Every day blends into the next, a haze of alcohol, intergalactic noise, and regret. And it's not even fun. Sure, outsiders see him dancing, screaming, and squanching like a carefree party animal, but beneath that facade, Squanchy is slowly dissolving into existential despair. Every laugh, every cheer, every squanch is just a little cry for meaning that goes unanswered. Even the highlights of his life, glorious berserk moments, wild adventures, or Rick's faint approval, don't last. They vanish as quickly as the next drink hits his paw. He's trapped in a loop of chaos and self-destruction, a permanent hangover of existence. In short, Squanchy isn't living, he's surviving. And survival, in his case, tastes like cheap beer, loud music, and existential dread. If Squanchy's daily life isn't enough, let's talk about his social life, or lack thereof. Because when he does leave the apartment, it's almost always a party. And by party, I mean an intergalactic disaster waiting to happen. He shows up ready to dance, drink, and squanch his problems away. But nothing goes right. Someone spills a drink. Someone trips over a portal. Someone accidentally blows up half the dimension. And guess who's left cleaning the emotional and literal mess? That's right, Squanchy. Again, even the fun is fleeting. The moment of glory, jumping, yelling, squanching, lasts exactly as long as it takes for Rick to get bored or for Morty to panic. Then the lights dim, the music dies, and Squanchy is left in the corner, sticky, confused, and wondering why he thought this was a good idea. He's the friend who shows up to make the night memorable for everyone else, only to wake up alone with a headache and the lingering shame of surviving another disaster. Every party reinforces the same bitter truth. No matter how loud he squanches, the universe couldn't care less. Being the life of the party, more like being the cleaning crew for a cosmic tragedy. Every tragic life has its fleeting victories, and Squanchy's is no different. Enter the berserk mode, a sudden explosion of rage and power, usually triggered by chaos, danger, or a need to protect something, or more realistically, because Rick thought it would be funny. For a brief moment, Squanchy becomes larger than life. He smashes, yells, and squanches like a true force of nature. And for a split second, he feels alive. He's not just a punchline anymore. He's a hero, or at least a terrifying furry one. But here's the kicker. Even that glory is a joke. The universe doesn't pause to acknowledge his bravery. Rick barely blinks, Morty panics, and the audience, they'll forget him in the next episode. His moment of triumph vanishes as quickly as a spilled interdimensional drink. It's the ultimate cruel joke. You finally get to matter, only to realize it was meaningless all along. Every shout, every swing, every squanch is a reminder that Squanchy's victories exist only in the briefest blink before the universe moves on. For a character defined by chaos and one word, even triumph is temporary and thoroughly humiliating. Beneath the booze, the squanching, and the chaos lies the real horror. Squanchy's life is an existential void. He isn't just a sidekick, a party animal, or a furry punchline. He's a character trapped in a loop of irrelevance. Every day repeats itself: drink, party, chaos, regret, sleep, repeat. There's no progression, no growth, no purpose. He exists only as a filler for Rick's adventures, a placeholder for comic relief, a footnote in someone else's story. And unlike a human, Squanchy can't reflect, can't rebel, can't redefine himself. He's forever stuck in the narrative Rick allows him, a pawn in an interdimensional game, too loyal and too dumb to realize it. Imagine being fully aware that your existence matters to no one, that your life is a series of meaningless antics, that even your loudest squanch goes unheard. That's Squanchy's reality. The tragedy is cosmic, personal, and relentless. Every laugh he inspires, every squanch he yells, is a tiny scream into the void. He isn't living. He's a cautionary tale wrapped in neon fur and a beer buzz, a furry reminder of how cruel, absurd, and empty life can really be. So, why does it suck to be Squanchy? Because you are the confetti stuck to the floor after the party ends. Everyone's forgotten you, stepped on you, and moved on. But you remain, sticky, flattened, and entirely aware of your uselessness. Squanchies. Life is a series of brief highs and prolonged lows, a cosmic joke with him as the punchline. His only moments of power, joy, or attention vanish before anyone notices, leaving him squanching into oblivion. And yet, there's a dark poetry in it. He embodies the absurdity of existence. You can scream, fight, and rage, but the universe barely blinks. You are loud, messy, and occasionally heroic, but ultimately irrelevant. So the next time you feel small, forgotten, or powerless, just remember, at least you're not a cat alien with one word in his vocabulary, doomed to squanch forever while everyone else lives their story.